Greetings, tonight we're going to be painting the Shadow Hound from One Page Rules. This will be a simple paint job, great for beginners and for those who need to put a bunch of models on the table fast. The Shadow Hound unit is made up of a group of 3 models that can be a bit larger than your standard 32mm model. It's recommended that the Hounds are mounted on 60 by 35 oval bases. The Shadow Hound unit is the part of the first release from One Page Rules' Shadow Stalkers faction. The STLs for 3D printing the models are released monthly on their Patreon. Go to onepagerules.com to learn more. The backstory of the Shadow Stalkers is that they are basically from another dimension that is dark, and they rely on magic to sense and see things more than their eyes. Because that they are from a dark dimension, I thought that it would be cool to make the models pale, dark and gloomy looking with non-saturated colors. I thought about the fish that have adapted into the deep oceans and the dark caves that have lost function of their eyes and lost the pigment in their scales. I could have just left the model as primer white and black, just to show the model being pale and creepy looking, but I decided just to use a little bit of color instead. So I'm going to use this blue wash. Washes can be way more transparent than a lot of speed paints, so it lets all the gradients of the white and blacks shine through really nice. As I'm wondering how to paint miniatures, I'm finding that it works great for colors to be in the same level or intensity as each other as far as like saturation and brightness, which is why I think using dips and washes at the end of your painting process works great, because the dip and washes will cover the entire model in the same sort of tone, which ties everything together really well. Also, I'm trying not to use as many different colors and all the little details. It is best to be as monochromatic as possible with these small miniatures sometimes. If you don't know what monochromatic means, it's more or less just having a composition where all the colors are the same, but they are just different shades. You'll see this a lot in cinema. The scene is purposely showcasing shades of only 2 or 3 different colors. Good examples are like greens and browns and reds, and blues and browns, which is what I'm going to be using tonight. And here's a brilliant example of if you want something to stand out, you just add one saturated color mixed in with a lot of monochromatic colors. Notice that they purposely have everyone else dressed in black and white with suits and ties. With this model, I use a black rattle can primer first, just to get the shadows, and then I went back a sort of like angle with a white primer, and just to get that zenithal effect. If you're new with this, especially with rattle can primers, it can take a couple of paint jobs to kind of get it right. I've learned not to be too heavy-handed with it. Just do like some really quick passes, and then that way it will kind of retain the detail. And you see how it's kind of brilliant white at the top, and then you go into the grays, and then fades into black really nice. Alright, so let's get started painting. For starters, I'm going to use the Army Painter blue tone for all of the skin. And you're going to notice that the wash does a great job of coloring the model, but it's super thin, so it's going to retain all the shadows. Next I'll be using the Army Painter's Bony matter to paint a cloth that is around the beast. This is a speed paint. I ordered this speed paint specifically for the Shadow Stalkers. I'm super happy with them so far. You can see how well the color goes with the blue. The only other brown that I have is this Satchel brown, which can be pretty intense, and as far as speed paints, and every speed paint is a little bit different as far as their brightness and transparency, so it's a good idea to just like test everything on a dummy model before you commit to the actual model you're painting. But I'm pretty happy with this color. If you don't have any of this Bony matter, it might not be a bad idea to use just like a brown wash or something to go with it instead. Just realized this, I don't know what's going on. There's a little bit of cloth here. But I just realized that this underside is maybe a part of its neck, so I need to go back and hit that with a blue. But I'll continue with all these little parts that's on its tails. Bit of brown on here before I realized what was going on. I'm not going to stress about it. Doesn't look too bad. Next I'll be using the Army Painter's Dark Tone Wash to darken in all the horns and bones and boils that are on this model's body. Alright. I like to hit the mouth up too. Make it dark. Just realized that there's still a support right there. Try to pop it out. Oop. There we go. Alright, there's little boils here. I just load my brush up really good and just kind of dab it. And if you want the top clear up, you just wipe my brush off. Wipe your brush off on the towel or Kleenex. There you go. It's kind of like a little scavenger hunt finding these things. I personally like all of my bases these days to be kind of dark and not stand out compared to the rest of the figure. So lately I've been painting all my bases entirely with Brim black speed paint, and then I go back with any other kind of speed paint to add any color if I need to. But with that black undercoat, it doesn't make the color like really saturated to stand out. So That's what we're going to do with this model, especially since it's from a dark dimension. You can see here I did everything with this what's it called, a grim black, and then I went back with a brown and just added a little bit of color just here and there. So let's get started with this guy. I like to use an older brush in doing something like this, because then you can just like go in there and just start cramming. The painting, especially like under feet and stuff. Just get that brush kind of up in there without getting it on the model. Yeah, I use an FDM printer to do my bases just because I like it's a little bit more efficient on my end, and I have like a better success rate doing FDM printing, especially like bases and stuff for some reason. But because of that, you can see like the layers and terrain and stuff. It doesn't really bother me, but you know, in case you want to see what FDM terrain looks like, that's what it looks like. I could probably like put it at like a different angle or something on the build plate, but you know, when I do my when I paint these things up, that's another reason I paint these things up just kind of dark. I just really don't. I like all the dimension of these cool bases that OPR gives you, you know, with the rocks and everything. Except for sometimes it's hard to get a model on there. You know, so I had to like stick this guy kind of right on the edge to find a flat surface for it to land on, but I kind of like it. It's a very dynamic looking pose. Like I said, I'm using an old paintbrush for this. That way I can kind of jab into all the creases and stuff instead of actual painting. I accidentally stuck my paintbrush into brown. It's starting to look kind of brown there. These little trays, I got like a Dollar Tree or something. They're really cool, really cheap and useful, but I should have showed you, like, by the time you get a bunch of dark colors in here, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. Okay, after I have the base all blacked out, I go back with some Army Painter Satchel Brown Speedpaint. Just hit a little bit of highlights here and there. It looks like there's a little bit of an architectural something going on here. So usually on these models, I like to hit that. Like I said, notice since we did a dark undercoat, these colors aren't going to be too bright. I just hit the tail with degree. Way to go, Ebiz. Have to fix that later. And I'm just going to pick some random rocks. I think this one looks good. I did it again. Good grief, gotta pay attention. What happens when you're trying to film and paint at the same time. So in beginner's level, we don't stress about mistakes like that. We just keep going. Don't worry about it because, you know, that looks fine. Alright, this last little step, I'm going to take some Citadel Nuln oil and do a little bit of shading. Little places like the rib cage and the little recess areas in the fabric. Get them to stand out, and using shades like this, it's also a good thing to do. Little places where your two different colors don't touch great. Usually you can cover up a lot of the mistakes using a shade like this. I could probably use this the same dark tone that I use for like the, you know, this backbone and these boils. Probably the same kind of thing, but I just worked with this Nuln oil enough to know how to react with my brush and the models. And when it comes to painting, it's best just to use what you're used to and what you know. Because when it looks like you're comfortable, it looks like you know what you're doing, whether you do or not. Do something like this. I put a little too much on there. You just clean the brush off, wipe it down on a rag. Instead of covering the whole model, I just kind of like paint it where it counts. Just hang around. Alright, so there you have it. There is a Shadow Hound. Like I said before, it's pretty easy paint job, pretty quick. Didn't take me long to even film this video. But it's great for beginners, and if you need to pump out like a large army, this is a pretty good way to do it. And honestly, I like this better. I put a lot of hours in this guy, but I just don't like the saturated colors and everything. It looks like it's painted and not like a part of the model. And I just kind of like this more Brim look that I'm leaning towards. Did the same thing for this Ranger. Pretty easy, pretty dynamic looking. Alright guys, thanks for watching this painting tutorial. Like, I'm going to try to keep these tutorials pretty easy for beginners. I am sort of like still a beginner myself. So be sure to like this and subscribe if you're interested in more videos like this. Catch you guys later.